Hello and welcome to our discussions on accounting. In this session we will concentrate on understanding one of the important ratios called the debt equity ratio. The debt equity ratio shows the solvency position of a company and is calculated by dividing the long-term debt by the equity. So it's a long-term debt by equity is the debt equity ratio. The interpretation of the debt equity ratio depends on the impact of the debt equity ratio on the following. In other words, the debt equity ratio, which shows the capital structure of the company, affects the profitability in the form of the EPS, affects the risk of the firm, which can be measured through interest coverage ratio, and affects the cost of capital. So the debt equity ratio of a company has to be analyzed after understanding the effect of the debt equity ratio, impact of the debt equity ratio on the earning per share, interest coverage ratio, and weighted average cost of capital. Let us take an example to understand that. Debt equity ratio shows the composition of the capital employed. Suppose the capital employed for this example is 200,000. We will try to understand the effect of the different debt equity ratios on earning per share. Let us assume that the PBIT, which is profit before tax, interest and tax, is 20% on the capital employed. If the debt equity ratio is 1, equity for this example we are assuming it consists of capital with a face value of 10 and debt 10% debt. If it is 1, so the equity is half and debt is half. So the capital employed is 200,000. PBIT is 20% of that, so 40,000. Interest is 10% on the debt, 0.10. So PBT is 40,000 minus 10,000. Tax is 0.30, so the PAT is 21,000. So PAT is 21,000, and the number of shares, because the face value is 10, so earning per share is 2.1. Earning per share is 2.1. So if the debt equity ratio goes up to 3, keeping the capital employed constant, so the equity is 1 and the debt is 3, so 50,000 and 150,000 is the capital employed divided. The PBIT is same, 20%, no change. Interest depends on the debt amount, so PBT changes, the tax changes, PAT changes, the number of shares reduces, so the earning per share goes up to 3.5. Now if it is 44:1, so 40,000 is the equity and 160,000 is the debt, so PBIT remains same, the PBT changes, tax changes, PAT changes, the number of shares further falls, so EPS rises. Now if EPS goes up, in this example EPS has gone up because of the increase in the debt equity ratio, because of the increase in the debt equity ratio. DER 1:134, EPS going up. So the earning per share in this example has increased with the increase in the debt equity ratio. So will this happen every time? Let us take this numbers and put it here and just change the PBT to 9%. All other things remaining constant, you can see that we have kept the capital employed constant, the debt equity ratio same changes. However, the DER, with the increase in DER, the earning per share has come down. So in this case, higher is the EPS. When higher the DER, higher is the EPS. Higher the DER, higher is the EPS. This is happening because the return on capital employed is greater than the rate of interest. So this is happening because the return on capital employed, which is ROCE, greater than the rate of interest. But this may not be the case in the second one. In this case, higher the DER, lower is the EPS. Higher the DER, lower is the EPS, because the return on capital employed is lesser than the rate of interest. So earning per share and the debt equity ratio in one case are direct proportionately related. Higher DER, higher EPS, but higher DER, lower EPS. So the relationship in the DER and EPS depends on the rate of return and the rate of interest. Thank you very much.